Springfield's Talk 1041. Hey, welcome everyone. Good Monday. Streaming live, KSGF.com. And we are on YouTube. You can watch us there if you'd like. It's Springfield's Talk 1041. And, we got the app and, and all places, all sorts of places for you to check us out, including the good old-fashioned radio 104.1. The big fun news item coming off of Friday was the visit Mamdani made to the Oval Office and Trump's response. Were you in the loop on any of this stuff?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it.
It was Trump every so often does these things that seem to have, at least amongst Trump support and people with a sense of humor, this universal response of, there's what we love that about Trump. It's just, and I believe that people oftentimes, particularly critics of Trump, I'm not even talking about derangement syndrome folks, but just people that don't necessarily, they don't consider themselves on the Trump train. They don't hate Trump, but they get a little annoyed at people who think Trump is wonderful no matter what. And those people also, I believe, underestimate why Trump does what he does. This whole thing, and if you didn't see it, we'll play the audio, but ultimately what occurred is Trump, he has Mamdani to the Oval Office, and Trump's sitting there at the desk, and they're taking questions, and Mamdani is asked, so you've said Trump is a fascist. You still believe that? Well, Trump's right there. And Mamdani starts to answer the question, and Trump pats him on the arm and says, it's okay, just go ahead and tell him yes. It's just easier that way, and kind of smiles, and he's like, I don't mind, and he gives him a little reassuring pat, and Mamdani's pretty much complies. He's like, well, yeah, okay, there you go, and there's so many different reactions to it that are what I've begun to recognize. They're reactions that Trump looks for. It's what he wants. It's all very, very deliberate, and some of it's instinctual for him. I find it very interesting. I saw there was an interview with Sliwa, who was the Republican candidate for the mayor of New York, and he and Trump haven't liked each other for a very long time. I mean, these are two individuals that just don't care for one another, and I think Trump probably doesn't really think about Sliwa that often. I think Sliwa thinks about Trump more often than Trump thinks about Sliwa. And Sliwa is like, oh, see, that the whole thing just proves that all of this talk back and forth was all theater, and where Trump was talking about how bad Mamdani is for the Democrats and for New York City, that he doesn't actually believe that. That's not true. That's not true. And here's it's easy to understand why Trump would meet with Mamdani to some degree. It's easy. To some degree, it's a little more nuanced. But for people that are Trump supporters, and you have recognized Trump's assertions about how bad Mamdani is going to be for New York and so forth, and you're like, well, why would he meet with him? Trump's met with Kim Jong-un. Trump has met with Putin. There isn't anyone Trump won't meet with. This is what some people still seem to not understand. If Trump believes that there is some potential purpose or meaning that can come out of meeting with someone, that's all that matters to him. He doesn't care if they're the greatest person in the world or the worst person in the world. He doesn't care if it's somebody that he personally loves or if it's somebody that he personally has a great distaste for. That's not the point of his. Trump is a meaningfully result-driven guy. He does not like to waste any time whatsoever. Everything that he does with some sort of purpose in mind. Otherwise, he feels like he wastes his time. This is a guy who feels like sleep is a waste of his time because he's not accomplishing stuff, which is why notoriously he sleeps like 2 to 4 hours a night. He sees it as I'm not accomplishing stuff. So for Trump people who may, or Sliwa, for example, characterizing the fact that, well, Trump met with him, so that means that the things he has said about Mamdani in the past, that was all theater. No, Trump will meet with anyone. Now, on the other end of it, however, The left is the opposite. They demand that you don't work with other people. They demand that if you do work with others, silence is violence. And if you're not with, if you're with them, then you're part of the enemy. They take this opposite position. So when they actually meet with Trump, it creates a great deal of upset, confusion, and anger amongst their base. And Mamdani faced that immediately. These lefties were not at all happy that he would go visit Hitler. Now, of course, Mamdani then Sunday morning shows, well, now you this, so do you still think that Trump is Hitler? We'll play some of the audio reaction of that. Also, a number of the Democrats that had put together, produced, and pushed out that video in which they were claiming that, we've got enemies running our country and they are giving orders that aren't legal. And if you're in the military, it's your duty to ignore those orders, to defy those orders. Some of them have subsequently, including on Sunday, asked, so what illegal orders is has Trump issued here that these individuals are to refuse to comply? And not surprisingly, the answer is, well, I can't really think of anything. Oh, you can't, can you? Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 54. Tonight, showers throughout the evening, otherwise cloudy skies with a low around 51. For your Tuesday, partly sunny with a high near 62. And taking a look at Wednesday, sunny skies with a high near 46.
All right, all the Santa's Angels trees are up and activated. What does that mean? I don't know. It's weird wording to use, but it means, though, however, that the kids are ready to be adopted. Once again, we have partnered with KVC Missouri. You may say that's a different organization. It's just over the years taken on a number of different names with the same mission at hand, however, and that is helping area foster children. And our part of this, and your part of it, is to give some of these kids who have never even thought about having a Christmas in any sort of traditional way, a Christmas. And, I think oftentimes we envision in our minds, well, foster kids, they've been in the foster system the entire time, and, well, they may have foster parents, but some of these kids are in the system because may have just been within the last few weeks. They've lived in homes in which they've been completely neglected and horribly abused, and the parents or the parent is a drug addict, can't even tell you what day of the week it is. They don't make them lunches or breakfast, and so they never even know if it's a birthday. These are kids that have, as a kid, you just naturally love your mom or dad. That's just a thing that is there, and to have that person never even know when it's your birthday and instead yell at you for being ungrateful if you ask for, if there's any cereal to eat. And so many of these kids are kids that it's not just that they haven't had families to give them a Christmas, but they've been in even worse conditions than that. And so instead of just asking for, buy some random presents and drop them off and they'll get distributed, we work with the caseworkers to ask these kids, if somebody were ever to ask you what you wanted for Christmas, what would you say? And then we have those things put together so that the kid not only receives something for Christmas, but it's something that they actually had asked for. And while that may not hold a lot of meaning for you and me so much, because we're very accustomed to receiving gifts from people who thought of us and bought them for us, if you've never ever had that done before, that is a much greater gift than just the actual physical gift itself. And so what we do then is partner up. We've got 4 area locations that I'm going to share with you, and we ask that you visit one of them, and they've got these massively beautiful Christmas trees, beautifully decorated. I mean, sarcastic. They're all about, 4 foot tall, I think,
Something
somewhere around
like that.
4 foot tall. They're pretty simple little trees. And they have paper ornaments, boy and girl. Each one has a first name and an age of the child, and then their wish list. You don't have to get everything on the wish list. We do ask that you get at least one thing, because, again, part of it is their connection to a person that actually wanted to get them something that they wanted, was thinking of them while they were out shopping for their own family. And so at least one item, if that we do ask that you do that. And then you'll drop the gifts unwrapped off here at the station. And there's certain hours. The hours are a little more limited than they have been in the past, but it's Monday through Friday. It's essentially, 7 to 12:30, I think is the timing that people can drop them off.
Yeah, I think it's 7:30.
7
to 12:30.
7:30 to 12:30.
Or no, I lied. 7 to 12:30.
7 to 12:30.
Yeah.
All the information is on the each ornament, and I know many of you are familiar with how this works because you're so generous every year and make this part of your tradition. And everything, it operates in the same way, other than those hours are just a bit different. And if you are someone who hasn't done it, you're going to do it for a first time. Again, instructions that answer what should be all of the questions on the ornaments. But if you do have any questions further than that, you can reach out and text the text line if you'd like, or email us directly. All right, so the 4 area locations: Crown Power and Equipment. This is a return location out on Chestnut Expressway, almost to Glenstone. Greene County Freight and Food Sales, also a continuing partner with us over on West Kearney. And Pinnagar Chevy and Republic. This is the second year for Pinnagar Chevy and Republic. When you are facing the establishment, there are 2 buildings. There's a building to the left and a building to the right. It is the building to the right. It is, and you go in on the right side, and unless they have moved it from where it's originally been set up, sometimes just for reasons of foot traffic and so forth, that does occur. But if you just go in that building on the right door, the right building on the right door, and that is where it should be. And then Mexican Villa off South Campbell. This is a new location. Very excited to have Mexican Villa on. And you just walk straight into that South Campbell location, and you'll see it there if you go up where the hostess stand is. It's just off to the right a little bit, so it should not be difficult to find. And sooner better than later for Sarah's stress levels, because
Yes,
every
please.
year our tradition is for Sarah to panic and worry that the gifts aren't getting turned in on time, and to tell me we only have 7 turned in, we only have 8 turned in.
I'm going to try to not do that this year.
Well, okay.
I think I also say that every year.
I think that too is part of the tradition, but can't thank you all enough for it. It's just such
Yes,
an
thank
incredible
you.
thing, and it makes so much of a difference to so many of these kids. And any additional info we also have, we have those locations online, right?
Yes,
At
and then we also have
ksgf.com.
like a FAQ as well. Like, do I need to wrap the presents? Do I need to bring my receipts? All that stuff, ksgf.com.
Okay, we should ask. I know we asked last year if they needed wrapping paper, because in some years they have, but last year they're like, "Oh no, we have tons and tons. We do not need that as a donation."
Well, I've reached out to
Okay.
Trudy, who always does the interviews here, and so we will ask her on air whenever we figure out
Okay,
her
good.
official.
Okay, good. I was hoping that she would be joining us, because I always love having her on. All right, coming up, the audio of Zoran Mamdani in the Oval Office that caused a great deal of concern and anger amongst his supporters, and everything from a little bit of confusion to glee, if you will, perhaps, from Trump supporters, particularly the Q&A from the Oval Office. All that coming up. Pyramid Roofing Company, talk and text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. Mamdani, while in the Oval Office, standing next to President Donald Trump as he was invited to come to the White House, was asked, do you still think, you were just recently asked about Trump being a fascist, and you're like, I kind of, I've said what I've said, I stand by, and do you still think he's a fascist? Now, the audio is great. I'm going to play the audio for you if you have not seen the visual. However, I encourage that you watch it. Trump is sitting there, and Mamdani is standing there. I'm going to get to that portion. There's just so much about this stuff that I find to be quite interesting. And you can see it. At least my impression is that Mamdani is uncomfortable and he's in over his head in the sense that, this is a guy who was a spoiled rich kid just making videos because mommy gave him all the money he wanted to. And now he's standing in the Oval Office next to the most powerful man in the world, whom he has called names. And now he's being asked about it. And you can just see this look of discomfort, while Trump, on the other hand, is almost, not quite, but almost like just to the giddy. He's loving this. Absolutely loving this. Here's Mamdani being asked by a reporter about the fascist label that he has put upon Donald Trump.
Clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say it. So, okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it.
And as he says it, Trump is patting him on the arm, like as if he is a 10-year-old that is being reassured. Hey, it's fine. It's all right. Just go ahead. And Trump's laughing about it. And Mamdani is, it's not his element. And in all honesty, even a seasoned leader of some capacity would still perhaps find that sort of situation a little uncomfortable because Trump is unconventional. And so you take someone, again, that's his mid-30s. He's never been an actual adult. Like I said, mommy and daddy, he has kept, he's taken care of. He's just made music videos that they have given him money to make. He's just basically been, playing all of this time. He did get, he served in the assembly. But again, it's a lot of cosplay stuff. And now all of a sudden he goes from that to this situation. So the fact that a scenario like that for him is a very visibly uncomfortable scenario is reasonable, I would say. It's not like a deficit of his personality. Anyone that goes from where he was to where he is probably going to be uncomfortable at. What did you think when you watched it?
I also got pretty tickled whenever he was patting him.
Yeah. We got to get a traffic update. There's just a lot about this that I think is so very telling about Trump that people overlook. They don't recognize it, which I believe is to the detriment of understanding why it is Trump does what he does and how he does what he does. And some of it is lost on people who have Trump derangement syndrome because they're just incapable of having any sort of coherent thought under normal circumstances, let alone if it involves Trump. Then there are just people that I think some are Trump supporters and they just enjoy it because it's Trump. There are those that aren't MAGA people necessarily. They like Trump sometimes, and they just see it as, well, that's just Trump. But there's so much more there that is going on, and it's all very purposeful. So we'll talk about that coming up. And then Mamdani being asked to reiterate. I love how they keep asking him over and over again. Is Trump still a fascist? Do you still think Trump is a fascist? Do you still think Trump is Hitler? You have to reassure us. You must reassure us that you still think he's the most horrible person in the existence of mankind.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 54. Tonight, showers throughout the evening, otherwise cloudy skies with a low around 51. For your Tuesday, partly sunny with a high near 62. And taking a look at Wednesday, sunny skies with a high near 46.
I wanted to mention, as I was talking about the Santa's Angels and our partner locations, a massive thank you to Wheeler Metal on Kearney. They are the overall sponsors helping make it possible for us to do Santa's Angels. So a huge thank you to them. They're awesome people, by the way. I mean, they're just some of the absolute best people. So it's a big thank you to them for helping us make Santa's Angels possible once again this year. Mamdani was in the Oval Office with Donald Trump, and he was reminded, hey, you said Trump was a fascist. Do you still believe it? And he's like, well, and Trump's like, it's all right. Go ahead. It's just easier. Pats him on the arm and says, it's easier. And Mamdani's uncomfortable. Trump is, kind of gleeful about the whole thing. You had one person 100% completely in their element, an element, in fact, that is an extension of him, and that is Donald Trump, and then someone that's completely out of his element, that's Mamdani, who has just been a spoiled rich kid that all of a sudden is, mayor of New York because he promised all of these things that irresponsible people who don't understand reality buy into, and you just promise them free stuff. I'll give you free this, free that. Everything's going to be wonderful. No one's ever tried this stuff before. I'm a 35-year-old spoiled rich kid, yet I somehow am going to do all of these wonderful things that no human being has ever been able to do before. It's just that easy. Mamdani's just the guy to do it. Trump. So why would Trump meet with Mamdani? One, Trump loves to meet with people who hate him. He really enjoys it. And he doesn't enjoy it because he's some sort of masochist. He's, some psychopath that loves making people feel uncomfortable and squirm. It's the opposite. Trump loves turning those people around and having them like him. He enjoys that. Which, of course, if you hate Trump, you have the derangement syndrome. This is inconceivable to you because to you, he's the opposite. To you, he is this hate monger that creates division and he creates hate. There's something about Trump that loves winning people over. It is an accomplishment to him. It may be an intellectual accomplishment. Perhaps it's an emotional accomplishment. I mean, it's both. Now, which of those does he find to be more satisfying? I don't know the answer to that. And he's not the only one. I mean, there are a lot of people that really enjoy doing that. And what is, I imagine, very satisfying for Donald Trump is that so many of these people who have never met him, and they have this vision of him and this idea that they are going to just really hate him, that it's going to be confrontational, that he is, in their minds, all of the things that they think about Donald Trump, the reasons that they hate him and that he's awful, that's what they're expecting. And he knows that's what they're expecting. But that's not who he is. And he knows that's not who he is. And he knows time after time after time after time, people who walk in a room hating him, while they may still disagree with him and hate him intellectually, just in terms of pure emotional interaction, end up kind of liking him. And I think he really, really, for lack of a better term, gets off on that. I think he likes it. That's why it is that you see how when they've already met, he and Mamdani have sat down, he's done the magic thing that he does. Mamdani has responded in a way that Trump sees people respond, knowing all the time that Mamdani is surprised at how Mamdani is responding. No one is more shocked about Mamdani's interaction with Donald Trump behind closed doors than Mamdani is. And Trump has seen this 1,000 times over. With Republicans, with Democrats, with world leaders, with business leaders, with activists. And it also serves a purpose. Because it makes those people more likely to work with Trump on things that he may need to work with them on. It doesn't mean that they are all of a sudden Trump fans. It does not mean that suddenly they are going to take a knee to everything that Trump wants and, whatever you want. I'm now a MAGA person. It doesn't mean that. I believe it's a large part, it's one of the many components of Trump's approach that allows him to make so many great deals. It clearly isn't the sole ingredient, but it is an important ingredient. He ingratiates himself towards people who in their minds thought they were going to walk away hating him even more than before. It's almost like a Stockholm Syndrome situation. And he just really loves that. And you can see it. That's why, again, after these meetings, Trump is always, it's like a, I don't want to put any negative connotation on it, but it to some degree is like a drug. It's like he goes in and this happens, and then when he comes out, he's almost always happier. He's jovial. He's more relaxed. It's like it gives him an injection of something when he gets with these people that it's supposed to be this royal or this battle royale, and the whole world is watching, and oh my gosh, what's going to happen? These people hate each other. And it's this injection of something that you see when Trump comes out of those meetings. He's jovial, he's relaxed, he's gleeful. He also recognizes that in a situation like this, for example, it's a little destabilizing for Mamdani's base. Because you're not supposed to like Trump at all. You're not supposed to humanize Trump. And even though, and Trump brilliantly took away Mamdani's opportunity to make sure his base there in the Oval Office understood that, no, I still think this guy's horrible. This is the brilliance of what Trump did, but he gave Mamdani permission, like a little lapdog. He recognized, because he knows what he's doing, he sees this as an opportunity to make that radical left-wing angry base that thinks Mamdani is the greatest thing under the sun, to make them suddenly go, well, wait a minute here, what's going on? And he saw that Mamdani was going to throw them a little reassurance. Oh, yeah, he's still a fascist. So what does Trump do? He steps in and he pats him on the arm in a fatherly way and says, it's all right, go ahead, it's just easier this way. And then what does Mamdani do? He doesn't. Trump manages to turn he gives Mamdani is almost acting on behalf like a little puppet of Trump's. And it did infuriate many of his base. It humiliated Mamdani's base, many of them who were paying attention. Seeing him emasculated in that way. I want to get a traffic update here because there's a couple of other components to this that Trump is just so underestimated in the numerous calculated layers that he often utilizes in an approach. And that in the Oval Office was just one of them. And, a couple other layers of the cake. Coming up, Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line, 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. Ozarks elder law, something to always keep in mind if you are 18 years old or older. Most of you are. And most of you have someone in your life, child, grandchild, brother, sister, whatever the relationship may be, that maybe isn't quite 18 but will be soon. And that magic age is when you become an adult. And a lot of great things come along with being an adult. A lot of not so great things come along with being an adult, including the fact that if you don't, and this is the way it is nowadays, if you have not laid out legally, ironclad, what happens to you and your things if you die, or whom it is that has the right to make decisions for you, like, well, should we do that emergency surgery? And you are incapacitated, you can't answer those questions, then the hospital gets to decide, whether the government decides, and you may think, you could be 19, 20, you're like, I'm married, I just got married, my wife gets to make that decision. That ain't up to her. You may have a hospital that defaults to her, they decide, well, we'll let the wife make the decision, but, what if somebody else came in and, boy, they really need that lung transplant? So, what do? Ozarks Elder Law. Reach out, 10 area locations, free consultation to let you know what you need to do to make sure that you are secure, and those that you may leave behind or leave standing next to your bed in a hospital as you are incapacitated, allow them to make the decisions for you instead of being helpless and hopeless. OzarksElderLaw.com, also under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. One of the other benefits of, and I believe this is a calculated move by Donald Trump in having Mamdani come to the Oval Office, is to create this sense, an unspoken sense, that Mamdani is the future or even the current Democrat Party. Trump recognizes that the Mamdani-style Democrat is not in any way, shape, or form popular in flyover country and not popular in swing states. Mamdani is the reason that Democrats have been losing ground. Mamdani, and I don't mean specifically Mamdani, but the extreme left-wing nature of a Mamdani is the reason that the Democrat Party lost swing states when during the last presidential election. Even Democrats, let's not forget, during the primary, elected Democrats, the New York Times was running editorials warning Democrats, do not put this guy in office. He is an extremist. There were elected Democrats calling him out for being anti-Semitic. He is extreme. He will be the destruction of New York City and perhaps the Democrat Party. Now, once he, of course, secured power, they all, as they always do, they get in line and they comply. and start telling everyone how wonderful he is and downplaying any sort of criticism. But the reason that during the primary Democrats were warning Democrat voters in New York to not vote for him is because they're afraid that he will be pointed to as, see, this is what happens when you elect Democrats. Donald Trump knows that. One of the mistakes that Republicans have long made prior to Trump, when it came to extreme Democrats, was to simply dismiss them as crazy and irrelevant. They would point to them as, see, that's what, look at that, typical Democrat, but not really typical Democrat, because they would help create this environment that made crazy Democrats seem like these isolated individuals. Whereas Trump crafts these events and these environments, and this Oval Office visit was an example of it, that gives this unspoken understanding that this is a leader in the Democrat Party. This is not an anomaly. This is not just, one more extreme Democrat out of 100 relatively normal Democrats. This guy is the future of the Democrat Party, because that is a message to the voters in Michigan, the voters in Wisconsin, the voters in Pennsylvania, the voters in all of these different swing states. And so what way do you make sure people, when it comes time thinking, am I a Republican or a Democrat, to see how does it benefit the Republican Party and Trump for voters to see the Democrat Party? It's to see Mamdani. So you treat that guy like he is the leader of the Democrat Party. You have that guy in the Oval Office. And furthermore, you talk about, as Trump did, oh, yeah, we had a lot of conversations. Oh, I think we're on the same page with some things. Yep. He was asked if he'd live in New York City. And, oh, yeah, you know what? I might live under New York. I might move back to New York City under someone like Mamdani. Now, that's twofold. Again, that is to make his base destabilized to some degree. But at the same time, it is to elevate him. Trump's calculation is that elevation may be great for Mamdani and great for AOC, but it isn't great for any Democrat across the vast majority of the rest of any Democrat that has a competitive race in the midterm elections. It is not good for him, and Trump knows that. Quick traffic update. I'm Nick Reed. On our Hardscapes and Outdoor, yesterday I went out on our patio with the smokeless fire pit. And it was covered in leaves, like a lot of you, of course, got trees, and the leaves fall off the trees, and took that leaf blower, and it was just like unveiling it all over again. It was like I forgot in 48 hours how sharp and nice and what an improvement to my backyard this is, and it is just it is a very modest example of what Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor can do in addition to the outdoor living spaces. I mean, mine, again, the smokeless fire pit, and then it's real estate from there. It's seating area. It's an area where I've got my Traeger out there, and we've got, just different relaxing for when the weather's nicer. We have a big hammock that sits out there. But for you, it may be having, an entertainment center out there, big screen TV or a projector, water features, an entire outdoor kitchen, including landscape as well. They can do just extremely vast jobs, or they can do something more simple like we have for my family at my home. And not just residential. If you have a business and you want a place, maybe you're a restaurant and you want a patio that's more than just sitting outside, that is a real step above, that becomes a destination for people, or perhaps you are some sort of business that sits down with clients and you'd like to have a nice outdoor area, maybe a grill back there for employees. They can do that as well. They're the absolute best. Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor. You can find them at hunterhardscapes.com. Also, Nick's endorsements at ksgf.com. Mamdani was once again asked if he still thinks that Trump is a fascist. So he was asked in the Oval Office on Friday, do you still think that Trump is a fascist? Then on NBC's Meet the Press Sunday, he was asked, do you still believe it? Do you still believe it?
NYPD would be the ones to do so.
In that press conference with President Trump, a reporter asked you whether you believe that President Trump is in fact a fascist, a word that you've used in the past. You were about to answer, then President Trump sort of jumped in and he said, quote, "That's okay, you can just say yes. It's easier than explaining it." So, Mr. Mayor-elect, just to be very clear, do you think that President Trump is a fascist?
And after President Trump said that, I said yes. And
so you do?
And that's something that I've said in the past. I say it today. And I think what I appreciated about the conversation that I had with the president was that we were not shy about the places of disagreement, about the politics that has brought us to this moment. And we also wanted to focus on what it could look like to deliver on a shared analysis of an affordability crisis for New Yorkers.
You've also said in the past that President Trump has engaged in a, quote, attack on our democracy. You've called him a despot. Do you still believe President Trump is a threat to the democracy?
Everything that I've said in the past, I continue to believe. And that's the thing that I think is important in our politics, is that we don't shy away from where we have disagreement.
Mamdani, at some point, and I don't know if he's this deep or not, will begin to wonder, is this the only reason that anybody likes me? It reminds me of an actor that will decide to become a musician. Billy Bob Thornton would be a great example of this. I recall Billy Bob Thornton sitting down for, I think it was a radio interview somewhere, and it was he had a new album out, or he was touring with his band, and he had one rule: I don't want to talk about my acting. I am here to push my album. And they started talking about his acting, and he just quit answering questions. Kind of went viral because it was very uncomfortable. And I'm wondering if at some point Mamdani has the depth to realize they just keep wanting me to trash on Trump. Is this all that I am to these people? Because the answer is yes. That is all that you are. That is why they keep wanting you to reaffirm how horrible he is. Tell us once again. Tell us again, would you, Mamdani? Would you just tell us that story again about how horrible Donald Trump? Ooh, we just love hearing that story. There is a long-term unintended consequence that I believe the Democrats are creating here. Well, I know that they are. They have already managed to diminish the impact, calling their opposition a fascist, a dictator, and Hitler. They've diminished the impact because of the repetitive nature of it. But they are also diminishing the impact because, aside from the repetitive nature of it, one must begin to ask, if you're willing, without any issue whatsoever, to work with a dictator, to work with a fascist, if you openly acknowledge, as Mamdani does, well, there's a lot of areas we can work together, then what difference does it make if he's a dictator or fascist? What's so bad about that? See, You can't, on one hand, tell people be afraid of this fascist or dictator because he's going to do all these horrible things and he'll throw you in jail if you disagree with him and he's going to put you in prison and all these things. But then, on the other hand, say, oh, yeah, no, I can work with this person. There's no problem whatsoever. We may disagree on certain things, but who doesn't? Suddenly, they start presenting someone that we're told is a fascist dictator as just another elected official. Springfield's Talk 1041. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the show. Hour number 2. Santa's Angels underway, where we've once again partnered with KVC Missouri, our good, incredible, totally awesome friends at Wheeler Metals on Kearney is the sponsor of Santa's Angels this year. Crown Power and Equipment, one of the locations where you can find a tree to adopt a child, as well as Mexican Villa on South Campbell, Greene County Freight and Food Sales, and Pinnager Chevy in Republic. That is on 60 there. If you are facing it, there's 2 buildings. It is the one on the right-hand side, and it's the rightmost door on the right-hand side to go in. Now, if you forget, you're driving by, don't worry. They'll be sure to push you in the right direction. We've got all the details at ksgf.com about how it is you can help us out. Once again, I know many of you know that how it all works, and so you are activated and ready to go, and we appreciate it as always. I think we'll be talking with Congressman Burleson coming up here in just a bit. I wanted to play for you, however, some audio first that I just found to be somewhat enjoyable, and it is Fetterman's response to the fact that Democrats are trying to oust him, one of their own, from the Senate because he is not completely compliant and obedient, because he reaches across the aisle, along with the fact that he's not anti-Semitic, and he recognizes not only is political opposition to the Democrat Party not fascist, not dictators, he also recognizes, as he has expressed, it is dangerous. When you call people fascist, endanger democracy, and so forth, and then your supporters start trying to kill those people or kill those people because they believe you when you say these things, you stop saying those things. And that has made Fetterman very, very unpopular within his own party, to the point that they are trying to primary him. He was asked about his, what was this on? This was on, I think it was Fox News, maybe Martha McCallum. Nonetheless, his response is what is, I find, to be humorous here regarding these challenges.
I hope so, because I guarantee whoever they put up, they're going to just make me look, the reasonable guy that's going to work with both sides together and find a way for Pennsylvania. And now it's an absolute lie. Voting to keep our government open, that was a vote to make sure that 42 million Americans get their SNAP. And now we're going to pay all these people, like the military and the Capitol Police and all of those folks now too. So now if they want to primary me, so it's like, but my point, it's like I've been on the side of common sense, and I've always going to put our country for party. And I think most people now realize that shutting our government down was wrong.
I've said this, and I think others have as well, oftentimes in somewhat of jest, but I really, truly, genuinely mean it when I say it is incredible to me that the one guy that we know for a fact medically has had a stroke, a serious stroke, in which it does so often just change the way one's brain functions, that this is the most reasonably thinking elected Democrat that we hear from in any sort of high-profile capacity. I'm sure that there may be some other Democrats like him that we don't hear about so much, if they haven't been run out of the party already. But when you're talking about high-profile Democrats, he's the only one that calls out anti-Semitism. He's the only one that calls out his own party for inspiring assassins and people who try to murder ICE agents and free speech advocates. He's the only one who bases his position on the issue itself, not, well, where does Donald Trump stand on this? I'm going to take the opposite position. The government shutdown's a perfect example. While the rest of his party in the past has railed against government shutdowns as being wholly irresponsible and not the way that you try to leverage other issues, He's the only one that stuck with that this last time around, while the rest of his party, instead of not just supporting a shutdown but created one, he was the only one out there saying, no, this is not what we've said we believe. He is seemingly the only. Here's the other thing that I find really interesting about Fetterman. Other Democrats are scared of the left wing of their party. They are. They're frightened of them, and some literally for their own safety, because they see what left-wing Democrats do whenever they feel as if somebody isn't in compliance with their beliefs. They turn violent. They try to assassinate them. Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania is an example that you don't have to be a Republican to be targeted by left-wing activists with violence. His great sin was he was Jewish, and the left wing of the Democrat Party, clearly anti-Semitic. And so, point being is it's not just Republicans they target. It's anyone that they feel is out of compliance. And that really scares a lot of the Democrat Party. And then when it comes to the actual primaries themselves, this is why Democrats, when they run for the presidential nomination, they campaign to the left because they want those people to support them. They're afraid of those people showing up and protesting them. Fetterman is immune to any of those concerns. Just immune. And in fact, he recognizes with such clarity that element of the Democrat Party is only an attractive element to extreme areas of the country like New York City or San Francisco. But in states like, again, swing states that would be considered purple, he recognizes that that's laughable. And he says, okay, bring it on. Because what people will see, what Democrat voters, and not just Democrat voters, but in Pennsylvania, and it's not that Pennsylvania is immune from having left-wing nut jobs within the party, but Fetterman sees, at what he assesses here is that even the majority of Democrats in Pennsylvania are not that crazy. And so he says, bring it on. His assessment is this is going to help me, because it is going to highlight the fact that I'm a reasonable person who doesn't believe in stimulating violence against opposition and was against the government shutdown, consistent with the way that I've stood in the past. So if they want to highlight that, then go for it. Knock yourselves out. I'm all for it. I forget that he was lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. I don't know if he, as lieutenant governor, wore shorts the way that he has, that sort of sloppy hoodie way about him. And for whatever reason, in my mind, I forget that he didn't just pop up on the screen. It was just some guy schlubbing around that's like, oh, I think I'll run for the Senate. He was lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. I forget that sometimes. Latest news.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 54. Tonight, showers throughout the evening, otherwise cloudy skies with a low around 51. For your Tuesday, partly sunny with a high near 62. And taking a look at Wednesday, sunny skies with a high near 46.
Congressman Burleson joining us this morning. How do you do, sir?
Good morning.
You get to be home for the week for Thanksgiving? Is that what is happening?
Yes. We are home for the week. So
how are you doing your turkey?
Well, this year I normally like to fry one.
Yeah.
I've also smoked it, but this year my mom has taken over, so
nice.
I'll let her do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna smoke one for the first time this year. I haven't ever done that before. We've always just done the good old-fashioned oven and the constant basting, and so yeah, I'm doing. I'm smoking it. Any advice?
I can't remember, but whenever I did it, it came out well, really, really good.
Yeah,
I would say inject it with lots of butter and garlic seasoning and stuff like that.
I'm gonna cram so many sticks of butter up under that skin, just fistfuls.
I don't even know why we even bother with the turkey.
I know.
Butter.
Yeah, just sticks of butter with a little turkey flavor, or in broth. You can just dip it in broth, the gravy. I think that's the way. Maybe we'll try that. That'll be a good tradition. Last week, well, I guess Trump, he went ahead and signed the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. Is there a sense of relief in the House that finally this thing, okay, we're just moving forward with it? It seemed to me like such an unnecessary distraction, which clearly Trump felt that it was. But what's just the overall feeling and temperature regarding it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely nice to have that portion of it moved on. I think that it's still we still have the investigation and oversight to continue, and as I think I said before last week, that we're getting more in oversight than they will get in the the bill that we just passed last week. So that work will continue. For example, Bill and Hillary Clinton are still scheduled to come in for a deposition, that should be pretty interesting. How
Yeah,
that works.
Comer, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong or if you have any further details, that Comer has pretty much said, listen, if they defy it, they're going to get the Steve Bannon treatment. He was held in contempt, and now, of course, he went to prison because he didn't comply with the subpoena. And this is an area that unfortunately a lot of Americans have become accustomed to, where if you are a Republican, you do something, you go to prison. But if you're a Democrat or Clinton specifically, then you can do the exact same thing, and you don't have to worry about a thing. And we're just tired of that.
Right. And if they do that and then they end up being prosecuted, can you imagine how the left is going to, or even mainstream media, they'll freak out. They'll be talking about how dare they prosecute a former president of the United States. Oh, I remember you all did that.
Right.
To our president.
Well, and the deal with the refusing to comply with the subpoena, I guess it's helpful in retrospect that they did eventually put Bannon in prison, because that's a difficult one to get around. I mean, anytime because you know that this is going to be, if it goes that far, the Sunday morning shows, the Meet the Press, and this is going to be brought up, and then to be able to say, listen, why should they be held? Why should they get away with something that an American citizen by the name of Steve Bannon, who went to prison for? Why is that? That's what people are tired of, that dual system where the elites can break laws, get away with it, while average citizens don't. And that's a difficult one to get around, I think.
Yeah. If you've got nothing to hide, come forward and talk, and if you're not willing to do that, you look guilty.
We're talking with Congressman Burleson. The Epstein list is attributed to Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning for Congress. I don't know that there maybe isn't a lot more there. I believe that it's unfortunate because she is conservative, and because the way that the media portrays her, she is vastly misunderstood in terms of I don't know, the way that she is worked into and fixed into Congress. And I think she's just sort of portrayed as this annoying loudmouth and has no sort of beneficial contributions to Congress, which I believe that she has. But what do you make of the whole thing with her announcing, that's it, I'm going to resign? Your thoughts on all of that? I think
it's unfortunate. I think Marjorie's a great member. We need people like her that are bold voices. That there's a lot of politicians. We don't need any more politicians, and that's why I have a lot of respect for her. And it's sad that she's kind of has gone through the meat grinder the last few weeks and months. Now, some of it I wouldn't have. I don't agree with. Going on the liberal media circuit just to kind of. Yeah. I don't think that was in poor. I thought that was in poor taste. But at the end of the day, it's her choice to do that. And I think she was trying to draw Trump back to some of the things that she thought were his core principles, and so a lot of things. I'll have to admit, I'm on the DOJ subcommittee. Marjorie's the chair, and the headlines that just came out this morning is that the DOJ is officially dead, and that's disappointing. I mean, that's the one thing that I remember people being more excited about than anything. And when you read that article and you read about some of the cabinet members and how they fought Musk and Stephen Davis through that whole process, it just reminds you that the swamp is real, and even Republicans are swampy and swamp creatures.
Well, on that point, I want to ask you about the attempts to censure some members and additionally maybe remove from certain committees. I tried to sift through this earlier in this week, where you've got this congressman down in Florida. Is Smith? Is that his name? There's a congressman down in Florida that has been accused of all sorts of crazy things, including
Corey Mills.
Mills, yes, Corey Mills. And so, as I understand the sort of loose timeline here, there was Nancy Mace had submitted or wanted a censure vote on Ilhan Omar at one point for something, and that was essentially shot down because Democrats said, "Oh, well, then we want one on Mills," and then that made it all go away. And evidently, according to some of the reports I've read, the same thing happened recently with, or just last week with Plaskett, that there was going to be an attempt to, because she was taking text messages from Epstein during the testimony and so forth. And then the Democrats said, okay, well, then we're going to do it on Mills. And so that got dropped. And now I saw Nancy Mace has, I guess now she is going to submit censuring for Mills. So what's going on with all of that?
So you're right. So the Plaskett thing was dropped as a censure. And as a reminder, that was for communicating with Epstein.
Right.
Long after he'd been convicted twice of these molesting little girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think it's pretty appalling and worthy of censure. But whenever that vote, there were a few Republicans when that vote happened that either didn't show up to vote or voted present, or and in some cases I think there was a handful that voted no to censoring Plaskett. And the moment that failed, you saw several of the women in our caucus, particularly Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace and Anna Polina Luna, got very animated,
mm-hmm.
and to the point where they were yelling in the House chamber at other Republicans, calling them cowards, and for basically cutting a deal,
right,
to so that Corey Mills wouldn't be censured, and that resulted in Nancy Mace the next day turning around and filing her own censure of Corey Mills, and that was read on the floor. So it and dismissed. So it's not good. It's very ugly. It's very ugly all around, but that's kind of, unfortunately, we're in a tit for tat right now on censoring each other.
Yeah, it appears as such. And of course, I understand the frustration from some of those Republicans, because it does feel as if people who really need it, it's like Corey Mills has become the get out of jail free card for some of these Democrats. It's kind of what it seems like. Where they can be like, oh, okay, well, we want him punished, and then all of a sudden the deal making occurs to protect him. And I get the majority is so slim that if there were a 30-point advantage in the House, I suspect maybe it wouldn't play out this way, but I'm guessing it's such a slim majority that's really protecting Mills, or has up until this point.
Well, for a fact, leadership did not encourage anybody to vote against that.
Okay.
Against the Plaskett amendment.
It.
So they were.
Okay.
So the accusation that leadership, at least, was behind this negotiated deal is, in my opinion, completely inaccurate.
Okay.
Now,
interesting.
were there other Republicans? I mean, I do think it's shady how many Republicans voted present and how many voted no, and how many didn't show up. I mean, that's another question. So they could have done it without leadership.
Congressman Burleson, anything else that you want to share with us?
We've got we're doing the candidate forum later today for people who are interested in running for state and local office. I mean, if you want to run for U.S. Congress, a competition is always good. That's great. But if you're interested in running for office as a Republican, please, I think NOAA set up a website for people to register. And so look for that and or reach out to one of us on social media, and we'd be happy to get people connected to that if you want to do a last-minute registration.
Yeah,
It
and
looks like we do have good attendance.
And I know we've put that up, correct, Sarah? Is that where, if people want to find that still this morning?
Yes, it's at ksgf.com in the homepage slider, and then in our events section as well.
All right, people can find it there as well. Congressman Burleson, I hope that you have a fantastic Thanksgiving, you and your family.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, you bet. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 54. Tonight, showers throughout the evening, otherwise cloudy skies with a low around 51. For your Tuesday, partly sunny with a high near 62. And taking a look at Wednesday, sunny skies with a high near 46. And the Pyramid Roofing Company, I oftentimes tell you about the work that they do on the more traditional roofs, but the Pyramid team, they also specialize in metal roofing services as well. Now, metal roofing, it is incredible when it's done right, but most of those early failures that you see, they don't happen because of the material. They happen because someone didn't install it correctly. And that's why I always point people to the Pyramid Roofing Company for all metal roofing services. Now, the Pyramid team, they understand every detail that goes into a roof that actually lasts, the right underlayment, the proper spacing, proper ventilation, and they do it right the first time, so you're not dealing with things like leaks or warping or replacement years before that it should actually be replaced. If you have metal roofing, or maybe you're thinking about switching to a metal roof, your next roof replacement, the Pyramid team, they have definitely got you covered. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
There was what was this, Thursday? One day last week, this mass transit systems, we saw out in, was it Charlotte, that horrific incident in which that immigrant from Ukraine was stabbed for no reason whatsoever, bled out and died. And now there's been another dousing of a woman with gasoline, setting her on fire, this time in Chicago. That has happened, I believe, more than once in New York City. She has survived. She is in the hospital. The individual who lit her on fire, is 50-year-old Lawrence Reed, had been incarcerated multiple times, charged with at least 10 felonies, been arrested at least 13 times beyond that. I've seen reports that his arrest record involves upwards of 70 different arrests. This is just the standard. This is what, unfortunately, people in the cities have become accustomed to, and it's what Donald Trump, as president, has been doing what he can in order to diminish the danger in which people who live in these Democrat cities, the danger that they live in. And, of course, instead of welcoming that help, Democrats push back and do everything they can in order to make sure that the cities don't become safer. This is a 27-year-old woman. Oh no, that's a reference to, let's see. There was another recent incident in Chicago where a man stabbed a 27-year-old woman in the chest. That was just earlier this month on a Chicago train platform. This latest incident in which he lit this woman on fire, repeatedly shouted, "Burn, bitch." This is the mayor of Chicago addressing just what is the most recent horrific event of violence against an innocent citizen in his city of Chicago.
What I can say is that as awful and as horrific as this tragedy is, this is as an isolated incident. As we continue to invest more in our public transportation system, we want people to feel safe as they ride. So many working people rely on our public transportation system across the city.
So his dismissive approach on this is, again, standard for the Democrat Party, and it's just to act like, oh, this is no big, this is an isolated incident. Yeah, we don't really ever have any sort of violence in Chicago. No. Nothing like this. This is no big deal. No outrage. No suggestion that this is not acceptable behavior in Chicago. Instead, this is isolated incident. We're just going to, keep making sure that we are able to provide transit for our people. That's what matters. Just keep those trains running. It doesn't matter if you get raped or lit on fire while you're alive or murdered on them. That could happen anywhere after all. Also in the city of Chicago, 9 people were shot, one fatally, during a, quote, teen takeover in Chicago where hundreds of juveniles rioted through the streets after the city's Christmas tree lighting ceremony Friday night. In one shooting, 7 victims, who are reportedly all in stable condition, were teens between the ages of 13 and 17 years old. By the way, whenever you see these PSAs about guns being the number one killer of kids in this country, which isn't true anyhow. Car accidents, number one. But even when you look at how high the numbers may be, it's because of situations like this, where you have gang members that are teenagers in cities that are run by Democrats. They want you, what they're wanting you to think is it's all the school shootings, that there's so many school shootings. But that's not where these numbers come from. So in one shooting, you had 7 victims, 13 to 17. In a second shooting just blocks away and less than an hour later, a 14-year-old boy was murdered. And an 18-year-old was shot in the leg and transported to the hospital. This just after the official Christmas tree ceremony attended by thousands of Chicagoans at Millennium Park. Chicago's 2nd Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins shared on X that around 300 juveniles were rioting and attacking police amid the shootings close to midnight because they know they're in charge. They know that if somebody does come in, like President Donald Trump, in order to stop this sort of thing from happening, they get protection from the Democrat mayor, from the Democrat, any Democrat elected officials, all the way up to the governor of Illinois. And it's just an amazing thing to recognize. This is what these people have chosen. That while there obviously are some people that live in these jurisdictions that will vote for a different approach, that will vote against the Democrats who continue to create and craft and invite and foster this environment, that a majority of people every, whether it's 2 years or 4 years, have an opportunity to vote. Do you want to continue to have this? Do you want more of this or do you want less of this? A majority say more. And you cannot help people who do not want to help themselves. Donald Trump, in that way, I would argue, is a pretty remarkable human being because do you know what most people, including me, if I'm president, I don't know, maybe I'd see it differently. And Donald Trump, he's a different kind of guy. You think of the hassle that he is getting over trying to save these people who refuse to try and save themselves. The areas of the country in which Donald Trump is making the most effort in order to improve their lives are the areas of the country that dislike him the most. They're the areas of the country in which a majority of the people vote against him. They protest against him. They call him a fascist. They call him a dictator. Yet those are the people that Donald Trump is actively working in order to help to the greatest degree. And what does he get for it? He gets called a dictator. He gets accused of turning the military against American citizens. Most people, and this is where I am, just intellectually, this is what they chose. They want to continue to elect people that do not punish murderers, that do not enforce the law when it gets broken, including gun control. By the way, that's what the mayor blamed this on. Well, it's a problem with guns. Well, it's the left-wing prosecutors who refuse to prosecute criminals when they break gun laws. It is the left that does not hold the people accountable when they violate these laws. And it's just an amazing thing to watch play out and to recognize that it is perfectly reasonable for people on the outside to say, if this is what they want, then so be it. I mean, it's like somebody that just is dead set on drinking themselves to death. At some point, you just say, all right, there's nothing I can do. I've tried. You've had the opportunity. You have, at least that's, an addiction scenario situation. So you can have a little bit of empathy or sympathy for people that suffer from addictions. But the principle still applies. You can't help people who don't want to be helped. You cannot help people. You can't assist people who don't want to be assisted. And if you live in a city that has the extreme income gaps that cities like Chicago have, that have the deplorable education levels like Chicago, that have the, just abysmal crime number, just everything across the scale, quality of life diminished drastically. And when it comes to killings, any given weekend, just some random person lit on fire or kids shot at a Christmas tree lighting ceremony. And you have a mayor that's like, oh, these are isolated incidents, no big deal. And this is something that happens year after year after year after year. See, whenever the people of Chicago said, oh, yes, Mayor Beetlejuice has done us poorly, we need to replace her, they just replaced her with someone worse. And they'll do the same with this guy. If there is a worse option for them to choose than the current mayor of Chicago, they will choose that person. And a reasonable reaction to that from people on the outside is, all right, you're grave. When you are willing to recognize that you have a problem and you are willing to accept help, then, so be it. But otherwise, you're on your own at this point. But Donald Trump is a unique kind of person, and he says, no, that's not good enough. And at the same time, what unique people it is that run Illinois, that run Chicago, that see these horrific things happening while they are protected with their security guards, with their secure gates, in their white left-wing privileged communities. And they don't have to deal with any of this stuff. Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson are not going to get lit on fire on a subway or on a bus. Not going to happen. Because they get toted around in limousines with security. And they demonstrate they could not care less about children getting shot any given day, people being lit on fire simply for trying to go to work or visit a family member or get across town to do shopping. And they're blasé, oh, well, it's just an isolated incident. This isn't anything at all. Yeah, it sucks and all, but, let's not go overboard here. How little they care for human beings. And they say Trump is cold-hearted. Trump is the bad guy in that equation. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. So I came across a story that I thought was funny because we have talked about this guy in particular on a number of occasions for a reason I can't remember. It's the ShamWow guy.
Oh,
You know, why were we talking about the ShamWow guy? What was that
Oh,
about?
I don't remember. We were also talking about the OxyClean guy too.
Yeah,
Billy Mays.
Billy Mays.
Mhm.
ShamWow has filed to run for Congress in Texas as a Republican candidate.
Nuh-uh.
Yes, kid you not. I came across this story. I was like, we were just talking about ShamWow guy.
We were like, what is he up to? Well, apparently this.
Running for Congress against an incumbent. Now, there's a bunch of people running against this incumbent. Well, I don't know what his popularity level is, that being the incumbent, but I do know that he is...
He's going to make some killer commercials.
He's
We know that.
the slap chop and ShamWow. Yeah, so the incumbent who's seeking re-election is 84 years old. So that may be part of the reason that there are a number of people running against him. So his actual name is not ShamWow Guy. It is,
What?
yeah, I know. It's Offer Vince Shlomi, better known as the ShamWow Guy, who advertised the super absorbent towel on late night TV, has filed to run for Congress in Texas as a Republican, according to state election records. The filing received Friday was submitted under the name Offer Vince ShamWow Shlomi. Shlomi told Fox News Digital in an interview yesterday that his decision to run for office was ultimately motivated by a desire to, quote, destroy wokeism, and as a tribute to the late Charlie Kirk, whom he called the original woke buster. He added that the political infighting in the country eventually inspired him to seek office and make America happy. The 61-year-old Israeli-American entrepreneur is aiming to unseat Congressman John Carter, Republican Texas, the 84-year-old incumbent who is seeking re-election in the district. Carter's turf includes the northern Austin suburbs, Temple, and Fort Hood. Shlomi is now one of at least 5 candidates aiming to compete in the primary for Texas's 31st congressional district, a reliably red stronghold. Shlomi, who is president and CEO of the TV marketing company Square One Entertainment, skyrocketed to pop culture fame in the 2000s with his high-energy pitch videos that helped make the super-absorbent ShamWow towel a household name. His rise to fame, however, accompanied by several high-profile controversies, including allegations of harassment and physical altercations, before he eventually stepped out of the spotlight in recent years and reportedly worked to clean up his image. In 2009, he was arrested in Miami Beach after an alleged violent altercation with a sex worker, an incident that became tabloid fodder after police photos of his face injuries surfaced. Earlier in his career, he faced legal battles tied to his 1999 underground comedy film, The Underground Comedy Movie. In recent years, however, Shlomi has kept a lower profile as he shifted back into marketing and entrepreneurship and now running for... Well, and so here's the... I don't know if this is his thinking, but the guy's 82 or 84 who's running for re-election, and it's a reliably red district. So whomever wins in the primary is going to win that seat. And if there's already 5 others that are running, you get a lot of vote splitting that occurs. Now, that benefits the incumbent, as old as he, and I don't know, this incumbent may be very popular, but it also is a great way to, you know, get a ground game going. And if the 84-year-old incumbent wins re-election, you know, at some point he's going to stop running. And if you've already run once or twice or 3 times, even though you've lost, you've got a ground game. You know the area, you know the district a little bit better. And so it sort of gives you some practice runs. It's very realistic that he could end up a member of Congress. And I'll say, and I did not know this, he evidently is married to a gal by the name of Melody Claire Mandate. There's a photo of them attending a Hollywood Domino and Beauvais pre-Oscar Hollywood Gala in 2015. And I guess they're still married. And it's not a bad-looking gal. Doesn't hurt to have good-looking family when you run for office as well. So the ShamWow slap chop guy could be a member of Congress eventually as a Republican. All right, already got a Santa's Angels return. Thank you so much for that. Text message, hey, it's Dewey. The transit attacks are going to be happening here in Springfield. I can't ride the buses anymore because people smoke marijuana on them, and they don't do anything about it, even though it is both a state and city law. When you start letting stuff like that go, it escalates into more stuff. Hey, listen, Springfield is run by lefties. And I know that is something a lot of people don't want to believe, but it is true. And so we will look like a St. Louis. We will look like a Kansas City. We will get there in due time. We've got news in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041. Hey, everyone. We are in the holidays. We got Thanksgiving coming up. This Friday, we will not be out at Scramblers. What about the Heroes Breakfast? That will be the following Friday. So December 5th, mark your calendars, is when we will be doing that at Scramblers. So this, as we traditionally do on the week of Thanksgiving, and the day after Thanksgiving, we have off. Well, special programming on both of those days. And if you happen to be out and about, of course, and thinking perfect gift, maybe it's a gift for you, maybe even out of necessity. Happy Honda Days. It's happening now. Happy Honda Days is happening now. Model year end clearance. They got to get rid of the 2025s, which means that's great news for you. You wrap into that 90 days, no payment. 90 days without having to make a payment. So you got a little bit of wiggle room there, particularly around Christmas time, and all sorts of great sales credits. The 25 Honda Pilot, $1,500 sales credits with rates as low as 3.49%, and that still includes the 90 days as well. So you get a lot of stuff wrapped into that. Also, no payment for 90 days on the 25 Honda Ridgeline, $3,000 sales credit with rates as low as 0.99% financing on that. Makes me really wish that I needed a new truck. I don't need one. Want one but don't need one. 25 Honda Accord model year in clearance as low as $329 a month, and you've got monthly payments based on 3.99% there, 72 months, so forth. And as always, you got all the little disclaimers and so forth. But it is a great time. Even if you're going to be doing it, and you're like, well, we got some time. We're in the next year. We're going to have to. Might as well take advantage of those incredible deals with the Pinnaker family at Pinnaker Honda, South Campbell, just south of Walnut Lawn. We were talking about the ShamWow guy, and he is running for Congress. There is a district in Texas that is a reliably red district. Now, some of you may say, who's the ShamWow guy? The ShamWow guy he's an Israeli-American entrepreneur, and his official name is I guess his legal name, Ofer Vince Shlomi. And he was an infomercial pitchman. ShamWow was one of those big pieces of material that soaked up tons and tons of liquid. And so a lot of times they were advertised to dry off a car after a car wash, but, just soaking up any sort of fluids. And he was very animated, very cartoonish because he was an infomercial guy, and he became known as the ShamWow guy. He also had a slap chop that he promoted as well. I don't recall what else beyond those two things. Well, anyway, he is saying he's running to destroy wokeism and so forth. Conservative guy, apparently, reliably red district. There is an incumbent running who's a Republican, but he's 84 years old. It mentions that Shlomi is one of at least 5 candidates aiming to compete in the primary for Texas's 31st congressional district. And wait, how many congressional districts is this? The 31st Congress. How many does Texas have? My gosh, I did not realize that they had so many. Well,
38.
Wow. Okay. I mean, Texas is populous, but when you think about, compared to like Missouri, that's a lot. Anyway, I had mentioned off air. I said, well, him, and you got Valentina Gomez also running in Texas, and Sarah's like, I hope they're not running against each other. What district? And so she looks it up, and it is. They're both running in the 31st district. I said, no, it wouldn't be the same district because they would have mentioned her. Now, you may say, who's Valentina Gomez? Valentina Gomez ran for, was it secretary? No. Was it auditor? Wasn't it auditor in Missouri?
Look it up. I can't remember.
So she ran for some statewide office here, did not win in the primary.
Secretary of State.
It was Secretary of State because I remember it was the same race Shane Schuller ran in. And she was very, very unbridled in her thoughts and opinions on
That's
things.
a good way to put it.
Yeah. She would call anyone and everyone out. I think it's best to characterize her opinion of what she calls the gays as being one that is not worth much. As she, I think, oftentimes even says, "Don't be gay," if I remember right, when it comes to her position on certain things. She is outrageous in her personality, her videos. She's very attractive, which doesn't hurt. Well, she ended up moving to Texas, and she also evidently is going to be running in the 31st in Texas. So you're going to have the ShamWow guy. You're going to have Valentina Gomez. I may actually watch that race just out of
I can't wait for
enjoyment.
the commercials.
I know. Well, I know what hers are going to look like.
Mhm.
If you, I would. Well, now I'm going to look him up on social media. But if you think that Trump is outspoken, Trump looks like Speaker Mike Johnson up against Valentina Gomez when it comes to crassness and outspokenness. You just look her up sometime and follow her on social media if you ever want to see a true definition of someone who doesn't care what people think. She fits that bill. We had Congressman Burleson on earlier, and he made a reference about how he was disappointed as he woke up this morning and saw reports that Doge has been eliminated, has been canceled. And some of you had texted in saying, wait, what? So apparently it's being reported, it sounds like it's been confirmed that the Doge office out of the executive branch has gone away. Now, it already was set to go away. It was a temporary office. This is one of the things I remember very early on that Elon Musk and others noted that, and I guess it was maybe 2 years or however long it was, that this was a temporary office, that it was an office that was going to be set up to go through to evaluate areas that were not necessary or maybe even counterproductive and eliminate those things. And then the office would, like I said, it had built into it an expiration date. This apparently is 8 months prior to that expiration date. Town Hall reporting the Department of Government Efficiency, which exposed rampant fraud and abuse within Washington, is no more. The operation apparently being shut down 8 months before its expiration date via The Guardian. Quote, the Department of Government Efficiency, known as Doge, has apparently been dissolved with 8 months still remaining on its contract, ending a drawn-out campaign of invading federal agencies and firing thousands of federal workers. Quote, that doesn't exist, Office of Personnel Management Director Scott Cooper told Reuters earlier this month when asked about Doge's status, adding that it was no longer a centralized entity. The statement confirmed longstanding suspicion that Doge, created by an executive order that Trump signed on his first day, was on its way out. Tech billionaire Elon Musk and the former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, tapped, of course, at the time to lead the effort, and were expected to drive a large-scale structural reform through July 24th of 2026. Suspicions that Doge may have been disbanded began to surface earlier this summer after Politico reported in June that staffers had packed up their clothes and bedding at the department headquarters. Does that statement not just give you a sense of who is running that department when the employees and staff picked up their clothes and bedding from work, where they had been sleeping since February and they looked for new homes? It was a worthy project. There's a little bit of editorializing there in the town hall piece. So, yeah, apparently that went ahead and shut down about 8 months prior to what was set to be its expiration date. Now, there are a lot of questions, and I'm sure the media is going to be like, well, what good did it actually do? And you're going to see a contradiction. Because the same media that was portraying Doge as the the worst thing ever, how there was going to be chaos everywhere. There was chaos everywhere because all of these massively needed programs were going to go away, and the government, as we know, was going to collapse, and oh my gosh, people were going to die. 39 billion people over here were going to die, and people in this country are going to die because they're just slashing the government instead of taking a scalpel to it. That's what we kept hearing from Democrats. Democrats like, hey, we believe in smaller government, getting rid of waste, but we believe in a scalpel. What they're doing is they're taking a massive sledgehammer and an axe to everything. Those same people, in all likelihood, will portray Doge as hardly doing anything at all. They will contradict everything that they were reporting when it was their attempt to scare everyone into believing that Doge was something that we all should be frightened of. But now that it's done, they will want to portray Donald Trump as a failure and this program as a failure. So they will dismiss it as really not accomplishing much at all, really didn't do anything at all in terms of efficiency, which will be the opposite of what they were telling us just a year ago. Now, how much good did it do? How much of it was permanent? How much of it was meaningful? I don't know. I think it would be a good idea, and maybe this will occur, for there to be some sort of, if there isn't already, I'm not aware of it, final comprehensive overview of this is what we did. These are the departments that we evaluated. These are the areas that we cut down because of either waste or redundancy. Here is why we did it, and this is what the savings are, over a fiscal year. I think it'd be beneficial to have. Most people won't care about it, I suppose, and I'm not going to pretend as if I would read through it line by line, but I would like for that sort of thing to be out there so we at least have some idea of whether it was a success or not a success, because otherwise we're just going to be left to a dishonest media defining it for us. We'll see. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 54. Tonight, showers throughout the evening, otherwise cloudy skies with a low around 51. For your Tuesday, partly sunny with a high near 62. And taking a look at Wednesday, sunny with a high near 46.
Santa's Angels, sponsored by the incredible folks at Wheeler Metals, is underway. In fact, we've already had our first gifts
Our very
return.
first one.
But I think that may be the quickest.
I think so
we've
too.
Ever had. So if everyone else could do that today,
Yeah,
Just kidding.
that would be very nice. No.
Yeah.
And he was very nice too.
Well, just
Yes.
huge thank you. So this is where we partner with KVC Missouri in order to get kids who are in very less than ideal family situations and make sure that they get Christmas gifts. We have 4 partner locations where we have little Christmas trees set up with children ornaments, little girls and boy ornaments with their name and age and a wish list that they have. We do ask that you get at least one thing on their wish list. You can get other things, but we want them to have that connection of knowing somebody specifically picked them and specifically just, it wasn't a random, buy some gifts and just give it to some kid. We want them to have that connection for Christmas. And you can adopt a kid off a tree, or more than one if you want to, at Crown Power and Equipment. That is on Chestnut Expressway, almost to Glenstone. Mexican Villa on South Campbell, which is just north of Battlefield. Greene County Freight and Food Sales over on West Kearney, and Pinnagar Chevy in Republic, which is on 60. Which is where just about everything in Republic is on 60. I was having a conversation with someone one day about Republic, and I was like, I don't think there's a restaurant in Republic that isn't on 60. Republic obviously isn't the only town that has a highway going through it, but I thought, wow, is that accurate? Is it the only? Well, now that being said, I suppose actually out by the Amazon Center there is the Roost and Habaneros. So that would that's still Republic, yeah. So I guess that now is no longer the only place at restaurants along 60 in Republic. You got Habaneros and the Roost out there, which the Roost, in my opinion, is one of the 2 places that you'll find the best onion rings in the area. Of the places that I've had onion rings, now there are plenty of places that have onion rings that I probably haven't been to, but man, the Roost, they are so good. And then the other one, Rosie Joe's, they have the other place. They vie for first place in my assessment. Love onion rings. You an onion ring person?
I gotta be in the mood for it.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry. I'm sorry, okay?
The onion rings I don't care for, just because it's personal taste. Are they like real stringy ones, that some people really like? Those are great to eat with a fork or something like spaghetti. And then I don't love I like all onion rings, but my other non-favorites are the ones that are just really sort of solid to get. The onion rings at Rosie Joe's and at the Roost, they're big and they're flaky, but it's not really fall apart either. I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but man, they're so good. I've eaten the onion rings at the Roost as an entire meal on more than one occasion. I have. It's true. I've gone there a couple of times, and I've gotten like a little combo meal of sorts with onion rings as a side. And then I got an extra side of onion rings. I ate all the onion rings, and then I took the rest home as a separate meal.
Now, do they have an app? The Roost?
I don't know, but do you know that Culver's does have one now? Did I tell you
do.
that?
They
Yes.
heard your program, and they said, "Ooh, we better get on it for Nick Reed."
I forgot to tell you that yes, they now have an app. They have for a little bit now, but yeah, because for the longest time I thought, how do they not have an app? You could order online, but there was not the convenience of an app. These are all very important things.
You have the app now.
I do have the app now, as I also have. Let's see. You want to know how many food apps I have now?
Are you at like 24? That is so many food apps, by the way.
Let's see. So 9 there, 18, 27. It's 33.
Nick!
The Huey Magoo's is the latest because that's now open on 60.
33 food apps?
Mm-hmm.
So many food apps.
Now, some of them rarely get used.
But still, 33 food apps? That is kind of... I think you have a problem.
My problem is wanting a good deal. And when you can, like at Sonic, for example, you always get half off of drinks that are like $4, and using the app. It's good deal land is what it is. It's smart.
How much room do you have on your phone? Because
Well,
33 food apps?
those are all in its own little.
No, I mean, but like, how much room does that take up on your phone?
I don't think it takes up that much. Well, and we only eat out on the weekends anyway. I mean, it's not like it makes it sound like that's all we do is eat out, but that's not the case. But when we do, I like a good deal.
Okay. That's a lot of food apps, though.
Yeah, it is. Coming up, a couple of the Democrats who pushed the video telling troops to disobey Trump over illegal orders. When asked, so are you saying that they're illegal? Well, no. I mean, we're not actually. Oh, really? Well, then what was the point? Some of that audio up next. Yeah, lucky for the characters in their team, offering up a great home loan coincides with iwantagreathomeloan.com. It all works out nicely that way, doesn't it? Home loan refinancing or perhaps even a reverse mortgage. Is this the best time? Is there a better time? What about that 50-year loan thing we're talking about? Is that something that's actually happening? Will there be a 40-year loan option? I mean, if there's a 10, a 15, a 30, and they're talking about 50, does that mean 40? Who does that make sense for? What is that? Any questions you may have, great thing about the team, they're not only there in order to get the process started because time is money. They really do believe in helping you make the best decision possible by providing you all the information possible and then making it happen for you. In fact, and we've shared many of these stories, people who have started with their traditional bank, well, this is where I've always gone, and there's one loan officer there, and because of the fact that there's only one loan officer, it takes a long while, things get messy, sometimes that person leaves, and then they're just hamstrung, and numerous people, maybe some of you, have ended up going secondly to iwantagreathomeloan.com because it just became such a hassle and the characters got it done for you when you thought it wasn't going to happen. So for all those home loan needs, iwantagreathomeloan.com.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see showers throughout the day with a high near 54. Tonight, showers throughout the evening, otherwise cloudy skies with a low around 51. For your Tuesday, partly sunny with a high near 62. And taking a look at Wednesday, sunny with a high near 46. And Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. Foreman Mechanical, they are growing fast and they are hiring skilled service techs right now. If you have been looking for a place where your work actually matters, where you're just treated like family and where you can really build a long-term career, this is it. So whether you are ready for a change, maybe you're looking for a little bit better culture, or you just want to grow your skills with a company that believes in training and advancement and is just all around awesome, Foreman Mechanical, it could be a perfect fit for you. And of course, for the rest of you out there, for all of your HVAC needs, the Foreman team, they have got you covered from preventative maintenance to new unit installs and everything in between. Now, to submit your application or to schedule your next appointment, you can do that at foremanmechanical.com. And of course, you can find all of their contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Some of your Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line messages asking me my opinion on Culver's onion rings. I've not had onion rings at Culver's, so I cannot speak to that. Dana's Barbecue in Branson has great onion rings, and I have not had those either. Morning, Nick and Sarah. Holy moly, at least you like variety, referencing my 33 different restaurant apps. Another saying I have 31 food places in my phone.
Oh, well, look at that. This person's trying to give you a run for your money.
I mean, it just makes sense.
I think you have a problem and you won't admit it.
So what do you think is an acceptable amount of restaurant apps to have on
I
your phone?
have a total of 0 on my phone, but I don't know, like 3, 5, somewhere in there.
So, like, if you hit the max and you're like, oh, let's see, I want Domino's. Gosh, if I have the app, I can get the pizza at half price, but I'm already maxed out, so I'm going to pay full price. That's what you think you should do?
No, but I
But
don't
that's
know.
the point of the app. Every app gives you food deals.
But 33 food apps?
Why would I not? If I'm going to go to a restaurant.
Everybody that's listening, 33 food apps. That's excessive, right?
What makes it excessive?
There's 3 of them.
You sound like a liberal. You're just saying the number. You're not giving a reason why. You're just like, well, just because. Based off of what?
Based off the fact that there's 33 of them.
Okay.
I know. I keep saying the number because it's crazy.
Yep. You're arguing like a liberal. You just keep repeating
Wow.
it. You just keep repeating. Like,
okay, liberal
just
Sarah
because-
over here hanging out in the corner.
Ma'am Donnie, loving freak.
Okay.
All right. So last week, one of the things that the Democrats did to improve the national security of the country was post a video for the world to see in which they, as sitting members of the government, for the first time, best I know, in the history of this country, encouraging dissent within the ranks, telling people within the military it is their duty, their sworn duty, to disobey orders that they may find to be illegal. Instead of going through any sort of protocol that exists. So if you are in the military and there's some order that you are told that you need to carry out, but you think it's illegal, instead of going through you just don't do it. That's what these, well, actually, they're not all sitting members of Congress. I think one of them, well, maybe they all are, actually. I know one's former CIA, but also a Slotkin. She's also a senator. Anyway, point being is these are significant people. Many of them, if not all, are elected Democrats. And so, of course, therein lies the question. If you are claiming that the country is being run by enemies and they are to protect us as members of the military from enemies that aren't just foreign but domestic, and they are to, as they are duty-bound, to ignore, to defy orders that they feel are illegal as opposed to going through the proper channels, what exactly illegal has Trump told them to do? There must be something, right? Here is Democrat Congressman Jason Crow, one of those Democrats answering that question.
So are you saying that there was not necessarily any particular precipitating event? There is no specific thing out there that made you decide now is the right time?
That's right. To be clear, we're not calling on folks right now to disobey any type of unlawful order.
So exactly, their position is, well, we're just telling them in case it happens in the future. That's all. Well, why this randomly? Here is a more, I don't know, it's not too terribly long, but it just goes into a little more detail. This is Senator Slotkin, one of those other Democrats.
And here's what White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said about your video.
They're suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful.
Is that an accurate statement?
So I think the reason we put that statement out is because the sheer number of, frankly, young officers who are coming to us and saying, I just am not sure. What do I do? You know, I'm in Southcom and I'm involved in the National Guard. I'm just not sure. What do I do? And I think, look, you don't have to take my word for it. We've had report after report of legal officer, JAG officers coming forward and saying, look, I push back on this. I'm not sure that this is legal. There is such things as illegal orders. That's why it's in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, going back to Nuremberg, right? And it's a totally benign statement. And if the president is concerned about it, then he should stay deeply within the law. But I think it's important to know it's not hypothetical, right? This president in the last administration, his last administration, asked his Secretary of Defense and his chairman of the Joint Chiefs to, quote, shoot at their legs at unarmed protesters in front of the White House that he wanted moved.
Actually, I know you're talking about Mark Esper's book. He didn't exactly say that. He said the president suggested that, but they were never ordered to do that.
And he got out of the Oval Office quickly so that he wasn't told to actually do it. And I give him a lot of credit for that. I give him a lot of credit.
So let's talk right now. Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes and everything related to Venezuela.
So in other words, no, they can't. But this is the dissent and the chaos that they are trying to create in order to destabilize the executive branch of our country here. Purposefully, they did not list anything because what they're hoping for is a chaos in which people who are in the military, all they have to do is think something is illegal, or they don't even have, maybe they just don't want to do it. Like when I signed up, I didn't know I was actually going to be shipped overseas. I don't want to do this anymore. Well, I just won't do it. I'll just say I think it's illegal because that's what I've been told to do. Now, she, of course, and even Radit here from ABC called her out on this nonsense from a book falsely claiming that Trump said to shoot protesters in the legs, which, again, not true. But there's a couple of questions that I think deserve some answering. If what she says is true, and she's not the only one who's saying this, this is what they are validating their directives on here, and that is, we just keep getting calls from these people in the military that they just don't know what to do because they're afraid they're breaking the law. Why are they calling you? Is there not some sort of standard procedure? It's what I understand. Again, haven't served in the military, but it's my understanding if you are ordered to do something that you feel is not compliant with the law, that is out of step with the Constitution, I don't think it's call a politician. That's at least not the way that it has been explained to me. It isn't call some politician who's then going to go on television and use it for political fodder. The other aspect of this I find somewhat amusing is on one hand they claim they're getting all of these calls from individuals in the military that are alleging illegal orders, yet when they're asked, do you know of any illegal orders that are allegedly being ordered? The answer is no. How do you not know of any if you are receiving phone call after phone call after phone call from people in the military alleging illegal orders? It seems to me if you are, if you've got a whole line of calls on hold from people serving their country with concerns because of illegal orders they're receiving, you might be able to name a few. Seems like a little bit of a contradiction. It's almost as if they're lying. If one were cynical, they might think that they were making this stuff up. These people are trash. Not only do they not care about their country, but they want the divisions. They are actively seeking the divisions. And to be sitting members of Congress, this is what happens in third world countries, where you have opposition leaders conspire with or encourage people in the military to overthrow the leader. It's what eventually results in what's referred to as a military coup. This isn't something that we have done. I love the Democrat Party will prance around and they will talk about Donald Trump being a danger to our democracy because he questions the outcome of elections, yet they are actively telling people in our military to defy his orders if they, quote, think it's illegal, as opposed to taking, the standard steps when something like that occurs. And then can't even, oh, no, I'm not, no, we're not saying that. I can't give any examples. Oh, yes, I've been given plenty. Every day they're calling. Every single day giving examples, calling in with these concerns about, but I can't really name any now that you ask me about it. Now, incidentally, I would not be surprised if there weren't some people in the military consulting with attorneys about whether or not certain orders are against the law or within the law, not because Donald Trump is giving them, but because there have been a number of Democrats, you may recall, just weeks ago, who said those individuals who carry out the orders from Donald Trump, once Democrats are in charge, you may not be protected from prosecution. That's where potentially some concern comes into play. I know if I'm in the military and I'm being told by the opposition that once they're back in power, they may come after me because I did my duty as a service member, as I swore to do because they didn't like it. Yeah, I could see reaching out to some sort of legal advisor to find out, can they actually do that? That might be a great question for some of these folks in the media to ask these Democrat officials. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. let's see here. I spoke with Congressman Burleson about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and he said that he was, I think if I remember correctly, the word was disappointed that she announced her resignation from Congress, and he did not feel it was in good taste. Some of these networks that she went on, being mainstream media networks, in order to air her grievances, and I tend to agree with that. Here's the way I look at it: if you aren't willing to go on a particular network in a standard scenario, then you shouldn't do it when you are mad at some, you know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, I suppose here's the question. Are you going on those networks just because you know that will help you trash on the person you want to trash? Like if you're a Republican and you've had a falling out with a Republican and you're mad and oh, well, they're really going to let me unleash and they're not going to push back and they're going to join in, and I don't agree with that. Now, one may say, well, no, that's not why. I'm just going on there because it's a network that is willing to have me on. Well, have you ever gone on there before? Or have you said, I'm not going on that network, it's liberal? I don't know where she falls on it. Honestly, I don't think this is nearly as big of a deal as a lot of people are going to want to make it. I think that when it comes to the state of affairs of the two political parties, Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning from Congress is nowhere near, or has nowhere near, the implications of Mamdani getting elected the mayor of New York. The one area, or I should say aspect of this, that I do think Marjorie Taylor Greene hurts herself a bit, and she may not care, is that she is making her resignation effective, I think, 2 days after the federal pension vests. So I think once you are elected in Congress for 5 years, I believe it is, then you are able to receive a pension. And there are many people noting here that for her, that date is 1/3/26, and she is officially resigning 1/5/26. And, painting her as someone who makes sure she's going to be on the taxpayer dole the rest of her life, and that is inconsistent with her beliefs. Now, I don't know whether that's fair. That timeline of her resignation might be in line with just the end of that particular Congress anyhow, and so it kind of makes sense on the calendar. And that's where it would fall regardless of the pension aspect of it. I don't know. I don't even know if it's fair if she did time it that way. You served that long, and you're like, okay, if you announce your resignation, but another 4 weeks or 5 or 6 weeks is the difference between whether or not you get a pension or not. Is it really the worst thing in the world to go? I don't know. I suspect a lot of people who will with ease criticize her for doing something like that, if they were in the same position, might also do the same thing. I don't know. So while I don't necessarily have criticism or absolution of criticism when it comes to that timing of the pension situation right now, I do believe that is something that is going to be utilized in order to sort of on her way out to say, see, she was just in it for the money. Donald Trump being asked if he forgives Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Are you willing to forgive Congresswoman Taylor Greene? Forgive for what? No, I just disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history, this stupid person named Massey, And I said, go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived a primary. But I think she's a nice person.
So there you go. Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty, for all of your home buying needs, your home selling needs. She's the bee's knees, the cat's pajamas, and I could tell you that from my own experience. So many of you have utilized her services. It's one of the great pleasures I have in utilizing this incredible tool I have to talk to so many people at once, and that is when, I recommend her, and then I get feedback from you saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much. She was absolutely incredible. Especially people who have been through the home buying or selling process in the past, and it just doesn't go as well. Or maybe it went fine. You didn't necessarily have any complaints, but you also didn't know what first class was like. Until you had Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. For all your home buying needs, your home selling needs, you can find her under Nick's endorsements at ksgf.com. Do you guys watch Macy's Day Parade? Do you guys do all that on Thanksgiving?
We do.
We do, and then I also watch the Westminster Dog Show that's afterwards. I always watch that after the parade. And the one thing I am a little sad about for this upcoming Thanksgiving parade is we're not going to have any of those really awesome natural organic phone calls from Joe Biden to whomever it is hosting. Remember those? Mm-hmm. Like the one he couldn't hear or something. He didn't know he was on the. Remember, or is that in my imagination? He did so many of those displays we saw in which you're like, why on earth? Why do they do these things? Why do they even try? You look back on some of that, and you really do think that some of these people were in total denial because they would put him in these situations that so clearly could have and oftentimes went very poorly and just reaffirmed what so many normal people recognize, and that was that there's something wrong with the guy. But they would just do it over and over. Like, why do you keep doing this? And I just really do think they're delusional.
Whenever I looked it up, I'm wondering if we're getting them confused because I know for sure they did the weird video messages during the Puppy Bowl.
I know there was a parade one.
Was there?
Because I remember us watching it. I like the phone got froze up or something weird happened. I'm almost sure. We'll have to look it up.
Okay.
We will have to look it up. Yeah, we are running out of time. The NFL's first transgender cheerleader was let go from the Carolina Panthers, and he said it's because he's trans, despite the fact that he was hired 3 years ago. Quote, I was cut because I'm trans, he claimed in an Instagram live video. I don't want to hear nobody saying she didn't want to come back. Why the hell would I not want to come back to an organization that I've been part of for 3 years? Saying he's devastated, stung, and hurt by the firing, but is not necessarily attacking the Panthers. I don't know that this person was fired because he was trans, but I do believe he was hired for being trans, and I do believe that fad is waning. And when you are hired not because of your actual contribution in terms of talent, but because you are a label or a fad, once the fad goes away, you're in danger of doing the same. Glenn Beck's next. I'm Nick Reed.